Today on Arrows in Motion, we've got St. Louis's own Tom Gatti, partner of Black Twig Marketing and Communications, just celebrated 20 years in business. Today, we're talking about how the advertising industry is changing and how it's not changing at all.
Don't think about it.
I try so hard not to.
It's not worth it because you can't do anything about it anyway.
No, I just have to react to the thing that happens because it's going to happen. Something will happen at
Correct.
some point.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, my whole life has been like that.
How many do you have?
Just two. Two is enough. I think we wish we had had three, maybe. Of course I say that. My wife says,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Taylor, I'll say this. 2 weeks ago, she was like, maybe we should think about a second. And 2 weeks later, she's like, I don't know about this. And you met her. Oh, you met her at Adriana's.
At Adriana's.
She's vertically challenged to her.
Man, I'm married to a 5'0", and I think my wife shrunk. I keep on telling her I'm gonna buy her one of those inversion tables, and she's like, "It's not gonna help." I'm like, "Trust me." When I was having my back problems, they put me on one of these stretch machines that strapped you in, and it moves you. By the time I got to the next doctor's office, a visit, got on the scale. She's getting my height. She looks at me and she goes, I go, "What?" She goes, you're an inch taller than what you were the last time you were here. I go, "Oh, I've been on a stretching table." She's like, "That is so wild. You're an inch taller."
My dad has had back surgery after back surgery. He's loved the feeling of being on those tables.
Oh, without a doubt.
He's so screwed now. It's not a great situation. He wasn't really at his athlete stage anymore anyway, but it's so sad.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that I'm not at my athlete stage? I'm in prime condition for 63.
I not to be funny. I actually don't mean this to be funny. I don't think of you when I talk to you as a generation ahead of me.
I'm at the end. See, remember though, I'm at the end of Gen, whatever the heck it is, the baby boom, right? I'm literally 1963. So born 1963, I'm 63 now. I don't know what the heck that means. It must be something. But that's the end of the baby boomers.
You're the last year of baby boomers?
Yeah, might be last or second to last. I don't remember.
Baby boomers, Gen
60,
X, millennials.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm an old millennial, I think.
So you're closer to me than you think.
No, I think that, but it's weird because when I talk, Taylor's mom is, I think, a year younger than you.
Okay.
And my mom is 6 years older.
Right.
And I think of her mom and my parents as a generation away from me.
Right.
Just because I think being in marketing forces you to think young.
Forces you to constantly learn.
Yeah. It's just the I could never have the conversations that I have about the nature of pop culture, the nature, technology. It's just foreign.
I think it's where you also grow up. I mean, I grew up playing, it was sixth or seventh grade. I played bass. I mean, that was my first band was in 6th and 7th grade.
So you were
I wasn't really cool. I was trying to be cool, but I played all the way through high school, into college, still pick up the bass every now and then.
Do you play anywhere with some buds?
No, we did for a while, and, I'm trying not to be egotistical, but I could play with anybody. I mean, I can't read music. I mean, I can read, but I can't really, if somebody gave me sheet music and said, play this and do it without hearing the song before, I couldn't do it. I could follow along after the fact, but I can sit, if you put me in a room with a bass, music turned on, and you give me, 20 minutes to learn one song, I'd ace it.
So it reminds me of those golfers that are a 6 handicap that were old baseball athletes that are they have no idea why they're good.
Right.
Can't explain anything about the swing. No.
Yep. But,
Going. Yeah.
but it's just, there's stuff that I just, I can literally sit and listen to a piece of music and go, oh, I can figure that out.
Are there any other surprising Tom Gatti-isms?
That we want to talk about?
Probably not then.
No,
So
there's not that I would, I think their statutes of limitations are gone. So maybe there's a few things, but I mean, I don't think so. I don't know.
Well, we won't, for the purposes of this, go past the last 20 years. So obviously you just had a huge anniversary at Black Twig, 20 years.
Yep.
How did that feel?
Kind of surprising, really, because, we started in 2006. It was an accident, really, when I came to work with Black Twig. I mean, I had been with another agency for 6 months, maybe 8 months, October of the previous year of 2005. And it was an accident that had happened because, that was when Survivor came out. Remember the movie, the TV show Survivor? So if you can imagine, I had just changed careers. And I said, okay, I'm going to get into this advertising side of the business, do some business development work, and really be the sales guy bringing in the bacon. The challenge was when I started, 6 months into it, the company said, hey, we're closing our doors. And at that point, I'm like, well, okay, now I got to figure something out. So we all played Survivor, figuring out who's going where, what people are going to partner with each other. I was going to partner with 2 other guys. Everything was set. The next day I go into the office and we were working there together. Next day they said, some change of plans. And we had just planned out everything the day before. And the plan was that we were going to work together. I was still going to be the biz dev guy. And at that point they said, we're decided we're going to go with another group. And I'm like, where does that leave me? I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I don't know. So what happened was after that, it was a couple of conversations with other people, and Black Twig was headed up by 5 people, Bruce Kupper being one of them. And Kupper calls me down to his office at the time. I was working for Kupper Parker Communications, and Kupper says, I'm going to start this other company. You want the business development role? And I said, you already got a buddy who's going to do it, who's been your friend for years. What about him? He looks at me and he says, he's dead to me. And I said, okay, what does that mean? And he goes, well, do you want it or not? I said, what does it pay? He tells me exactly what you're getting now. I go, I'm in, right? I mean, that's literally what happened. And here we are 20 years later. And I would say that, Bruce was a tough guy. I mean, he was really hard to work with, but I remember about 8 years into it. No, not even that. It was probably 5 or 6 years into it. He started kind of grooming me, and he was challenging, he was kind of a beast. But he said to me, look, if you want to, because you can tap out anytime, the Navy SEAL thing is ring the bell. As soon as you ring the bell, you can leave. And he said to me, you can ring the bell anytime. But if you stick with it, I'll train you on how to run an agency. He said, if you take the good parts of you and take the bad parts of me out, and take the good parts of me and put them in, he said, I actually have something. So at that point, I'm like, okay, I'll ring the bell if I have to. There were many times that I wanted to ring the bell. He and I went round and round many, many times. He always would say, I'm an ex-Golden Glove boxer, so he knew he could take me, but he was older than me and he couldn't walk as fast. So, I figured I could always get away. But yeah, 10 years into that whole thing, he was ready to sell. And so myself and 3 other partners decided to go ahead and buy the company. And, I kind of did it. My wife always looks at me and says, I thought we were going to make a lot more money. And I said, at my age, and, I'm 63 now, so I was 53. I said, I'm sort of buying job security. I'm not going to go out and look for something. I know this. I understand what to do. And that's where we are. So yeah, when I look back and you say, 20 years is a big milestone. Holy cow. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And honestly, from the day we started until today, everything's changed multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, the change feels like it's accelerating exponentially. And I don't know, obviously I've only known you for a couple years, if that at this point, and through the conversations we've had, I think we've found that, we're very much aligned in how this business actually works. So, as we know, when you're taking on a marketing customer, there's usually a reason that they reached out or a reason that they initiated the conversation, and it looks any number of ways. And really, our job is to actually identify what is the goal, because what the goal is rarely matches the initial outreach.
Right.
And then there is discovery, onboarding, learning the questions, and the more experience you have, the better questions you ask. Then you apply strategy and execution. Then you put out messaging.
Right.
And it's always been like that, from like the Mad Men days to today. And technology is the big difference, right?
Right.
So how are you looking at, obviously we both know when we're talking to clients, like AI is top of mind for everybody.
Yeah.
And I feel like I spend a lot of time kind of trying to put AI in a little box over here and acknowledge that this is kind of the lube of the machine. It's a tool. It's not a replacement for the thing. How are you handling that conversation now?
It's difficult sometimes because I think in our industry, always things have changed so drastically that, whatever the shiny light, shiny object is, everybody's going after it. So everybody thinks they need to. So I kind of look at AI and I explain AI in a couple of different ways. I use an analogy or comparison to magazines and the technical change or the digital age. And people used to say when that digital age, everybody's going to get your information from your phone and whatever. It worked for a little while, but then really what actually happened was people started to realize you still need both. And the companies that said, we're going to stay digitally and we're also going to stay as a physical publication, did better because there was more opportunity to reach the audience, right? You could hit them through an email. You could hit them through the digital online platform. You could hit them with their magazine sitting on somebody's desk. And all of that combined gives you opportunity. And at that point, we started measuring things in terms of how many likes and how much reach and, repeat customers and repeat visits and all of that. I think AI is like that a lot. 3 years ago, I think we started really hearing heavily about AI and we're like, okay, what's this going to really mean? We were thinking robotics and, aliens and whatnot, and now you look at it, and it's evolving still. And I think people need to learn how to utilize it. It's in every industry. I think from a marketing perspective, it's actually kind of great, but don't use it. This is where the problem comes in. Some companies think they can just use AI and write all of their articles and get their content out there, right? Yes, they can, but it's not really in their own voice. And so you have to, you got to speak what you want to speak, then let AI refine it. And then it's you.
What's interesting, like exactly what you said, if you stop and think what it is, like what AI is, it inherently can't create something original.
Correct.
It's pulling from things that already exist.
Exactly.
So without kind of feeding the machine unique ideas, differentiators, things that are fundamentally different or inherently creative and new, you can't differentiate yourself exclusively with that tool.
I think it's like, if somebody came to me tomorrow and said, okay, how do I use AI in my XYZ business? And they weren't going to be a client of mine. And I could sit down with the C-suite and I said, here's how I would use it. Every time I would walk around the warehouse, the manufacturing facility, whatever it is, I would record everything I say. And every conversation that I have with employees, with prospects, with customers, I would look around the room and I'd say, well, this is a problem over here. Even if I'm not talking to somebody, I know this is a problem and I need to fix it. And then if you went back at the end of the day and you took all of that information and then you threw it through an AI, it would actually tell you who you are and what you do and what makes you different than everybody else. And it actually would help solve your problems because you go, oh, yeah, it's exactly how I should do it. Then you could take all that information and actually be a better boss, be a better, recruiter, be a better, employer in general. So I think AI has huge benefits, but it has to take the human element first to bring it into the AI. And then you can use then AI to actually empower yourself and grow your personal business, yourself. I mean, whether it's business or your personal life. I've always been a guy that reads all the self-help books, right? Seen them, psychology, this, that, and the other thing. I think this is like the greatest tool in the world from that perspective because it gives you complete introspective of your life and who you are.
You hit on it is you have to feed the machine. And I think that's unfortunately like the step that people, even before AI came about, it was still just like make the ads, do the release, film the commercial. And the costly, challenging, experience-driven step is the discovery and developing a strategy that differentiates us and then doing it. Why do you feel like, in your experience, it's so challenging to get people to stop and do the hard part first? Like create the context and the inputs to feed the marketing machine or the AI machine?
Time, because most people we run into, and this is the challenge that we face every single client that we work with. Sometimes you have to slow down to figure out what it is that you need to do in order to go faster.
Yes.
Right. And the hardest thing to do is do nothing that is going to increase business. Everybody says, it's like go sell something and that's going to change everything. But sometimes you literally need to stop and look at everything and plan it out. Who are we? What was our message? How are we trying to attract new customers? What does our customer really look like? What are they asking? What are they looking for? So I think a lot of times people just don't take stock and sit down and take the time to actually figure those things out.
Yeah, it's the analogy I think about is I haven't been, to the Gatti residence, but I can almost guarantee in your kitchen there is a junk drawer full of crap that will not be
maybe
addressed
two.
until you die or move.
Right.
That is kind of our job, is to dump the junk drawer on the table and force everyone to clean it up.
Yep.
Because, even Arrow's Up, we've evolved over just a couple years and we just dumped our junk drawer out, re-examined who we are and what we are. And it is a time suck. And it is only, the leadership that can do it appropriately. And I think you just hit it. It's hard in time and everyone's time to value now.
They need it now. And most of the clients, you see this, and we've had this conversation before. We talk to people who have a challenge, they have a problem, whatever it's called, and they need to solve it. So they look at us and they say, we're hiring you to solve this problem. And when you get in there and you unpack everything, that wasn't really the biggest problem.
Yeah.
And they don't believe in their mind that wasn't, but actually over time in the conversations, they finally figured out that wasn't the biggest problem. It was a different one. And if we solve that one, then the other one we thought was, the biggest issue kind of just goes away. We talked about something we had done for years called the Idea Factory. And we changed it this past year to the Brand Factory. Not because it needed it, but I think a lot of times when I had to explain Idea Factory, nobody understood.
Yeah.
And they'd say, well, explain to that? And I'd say it was a Brand Factory. And they go, well, okay, that's different. So it's like strategic discussions around marketing and whatnot. The more I talk about it, the more I realize that every one of our clients, I think every client in any marketing scenario needs to go through that exercise. Because as much as people tell me they know their brand, they know who they are, they know their messaging, we still unpack things that, they're like, oh yeah, maybe that's not what we should be saying. right? Or no, that's not really our customer. And I think that when you look at those things as a business owner, whether you're using you, me, somebody else, internal, whatever, I think you have to look at, let's really take stock in who we are, what we're trying to say, who our ideal customer is, and try not to be, all things to everyone.
I think like there's a few things that make up what is an agency, and one of them definitely is like, what is your process for taking in new customers? Like, what is like the 40,000 foot view of what is the process for the brand factory? Like, what's your framework for that?
Framework is we do an half day, maybe 6 hours sometimes, first session. We want to get everybody in there in the room that has some decision making power. So it's typically the C-suite. Sometimes it's the salespeople, and trying to just listen. And we have a whole dashboard of things that we start writing down. What does your client look like? What are the problems? What does your competition look like? How does the competition see you? How do your customers see the competition? I mean, all these things you think, well, those are pretty simple questions, but it helps to just open the dialogue, and we're getting ready to do another one with a new client, and we're going to, a lot of times we like to get away from either our office or the client's office because too much distraction. In this case, we're going there, but primarily because it's a small business with a lot of input from a lot of different people, and they sort of want to bring people in to answer some of those questions from different departments. And we'll see how that goes. But I know inherently it's the right thing to do. Whether we call it the brand factory and separate it out as a specific area of focus for the first 2 months, or we build it in, we're still going to have to go through the brand factory in some way, shape, or form. We're just going to have to, because we don't know the customer as well as they know their business. Therefore, we have to take everything in so that we can then digest it and basically dissect it into stuff that we can actually do from a social media standpoint, from a digital, from a public relations, from storytelling, writing the website. How is the flow of the website? I mean, all of these things kind of take precedence after you figure the kind of the nuts and bolts out first.
I love that you said that you like to bring in the salespeople for the companies that you're working with.
Totally.
They are always the information honeypots for me, and a lot of the times they're not heard in that context by, the executive team. They have the most unfiltered view of like why people select or choose not to select that business. And that is usually the fastest track to establishing messaging and identity, is why are people not buying from you and why are people buying from you?
Right.
And you find that a lot of times when you get the salespeople in the room with the executives, they're like, what the hell?
The challenge with salespeople, and I grew up one, right?
Same.
So I mean, I'm speaking about myself. I think the challenge with salespeople is that they, it's ready, aim, fire, right? It's actually fire, ready, aim versus ready, aim, fire. So I got it backwards. And that's part of the challenge, is that you say, look, I know what the problem is. I'm just going to go after it. Sometimes salespeople unpack or uncover what the real problem is, not necessarily because they, were strategically thinking through this, but because they asked a question and they got an answer that they didn't like. And then they go back to the boss and they say, this is what they said. And you're like, really? That's interesting. I never heard that before. And so as a salesperson, I think we as salespeople, I think we have to address the fact that sometimes the best salespeople are also a little bit all over the place. And take everything that they say with sort of a grain of salt. But you know what? There's a lot of truth to what they actually bring to the table.
No, absolutely. And I mean, there's obviously, I think in marketing especially, there's just a reality that there's a lot of firms that are driven purely by sales, where I don't know the right way to articulate this. A known challenge, and I think what you address with selling the brand factory first is like, it's easy to take a willing customer in and just jump right to tactics when that's what they want.
Right.
And I always, when people ask me if something is possible and I say no, I'll say, I guarantee you, if you ask enough agencies, someone is going to say yes and take money. You want to take money immediately.
Sure.
But like, I just do not think that there's any way around kind of like the salesperson and the marketing to kind of be almost a gatekeeper.
Right.
Because you're almost trying to talk people out of having an unrealistic experience with you instead of saying yes.
Yeah.
It's just a weird role that we have. Is like, our incentive is obviously to grow the business, but you can blow it up really fast by being a pure salesperson.
Yeah, and I think also too, I mean, I've talked to enough people in different industries. I'm part of another group that is really an outsource group of individuals. We all do different things. There's an attorney and an HR specialist and a healthcare specialist and an outsourced CFO and then a marketing and a sales implementer. And one of the things that we talked about recently, and actually it was the attorney that brought it up, was the fact that, people just want you to move and do things fast. And you're like, no, I'd rather not have you as a client. And we're consultative sellers now. It's not the old days of, let me figure out what your objection is. Let me combat your objection with another question so that I can get you to say yes.
Yeah.
I don't care. I would rather not have the client because I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to be a problem.
It's like, I'm going to create a nightmare for my team in 3 months.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, 10 years ago, I remember somebody saying, so what kind of customers do you want? I'm going to say something probably, well, all my customers are good, really. So that's good now, but I'm just done working with assholes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, if you think you're smarter than everybody else, I'm sorry. I can't work with you. Not because I'm the smartest guy in the room. By far, I am not the smartest guy in the room. What I want to know, though, is I want to know that you're willing to listen and to take chances. And I'm not right 100% of the time, and my team's not right 100% of the time, but we have to test. And again, I go back to what I said earlier about, actually we talked about it offset, not here. And I said, it's kind of like going to the eye doctor, and they put the little goggles on you and they go, does this look better? Does this one, this one, this one, this one, this one? Well, eventually you say, well, A is better than B. And they go, okay, that's great. Now they look at, okay, if A is better, is C better? And you go, oh, C is better. You would have never gotten to C had you not realized that A and B were different. And you go, well, A is better than B. Okay, now I'm going to try something different. Well, that's much better, and that's clearer. And so you have to do that in business, and sometimes you just have to take those chances of saying, look, I'm going to try something. The A/B testing realm, we had this conversation internally the other day. Somebody asked the question, how many clients do you currently have that we should be doing A/B testing for? And I said, every one of them, right? There's nobody that you wouldn't want to do that for. And I don't care if it's social or email marketing or, mobile text, whatever. I mean, you have to do it.
I think a lot of, this is a line from my wife's second favorite cheerleading movie, Fired Up. They say, you got to risk it to get the biscuit. And like, the reality is like, it takes a lot of commitment to pick a message and pick a persona and attack it. And that's why it's so important to go through, like the brand factory or, every agency calls that thing something different.
Right.
But you have to do that to feel you're making a calculated choice to fire away with a core message, a core offer set to an audience. And then the A/B testing is refining that, the shape of it, the sound of it, the words, the placements. Right. But you have to commit to something. And you can't do that until you dump the junk drawer out. And
and it's funny because you go back to what you said earlier about sometimes people just, they want you to just do the tactics, get it done, right? I got this problem, fix my problem. And sometimes it's hard because when you say, no, I'll do it, but I want to try these 3 things. We don't have time to try 3 things. Well, you don't have time to not try 3 things because, if you go down one path and it's the wrong path, it's a complete dead end. You've just wasted a ton of time. Now you have to backtrack and start sort of all over again. And now you're going to go down another path. You don't even know whether or not it's even the right path either.
Yeah. I mean, there's always like little things that are like objectively right to do. It's just like make the site coherent, track everything, get the sales data hooked up, like do all of the fundamental ball foundation pouring stuff. That is stuff you can get time to value really quickly. But I actually cannot think of a client that we've had where I would consider the results transformational that jumped right to tactics.
I would agree with that too on our side. I don't think there's no, in 20 years, we've never seen one.
Because like, if you do that to it, it's like, it's funny. I actually just don't think I've said this out loud, is when you ask AI to do something without like prompting and unique information in it, you're just going to go to the average. And in the same way that if someone comes in and say, Tom, I'm an HVAC company, run me some ads, I don't want to do any Q&A, I'm busy. Your only choice is to do derivative advertising from things that you see in the industry that are already working.
Right.
And then you're Mr. Me Too.
Right.
That is the only, doing it that way is a
Right.
guarantee to be Mr. Me Too.
Well, and sometimes, well, not always, but sometimes there are times when you say, we know an industry well enough that, somebody said, look, I just need help. Just go do it. We're going to be right 65% of the time.
Sure.
Right.
Like if I'm on the HVAC example, I know if I go to Meta and load up like a $39 AC tune-up ad, I'm going to get some leads right out of the gate, and I'm going to get some action and give some people, for the group to call. And that's going to get them out of a hole and get some motion. But this is not going to happen with that strategy.
No, you have to.
And not
know.
Everybody needs that, but.
Well, I don't, it's funny. I don't know many people that don't want to grow exponentially, and everybody's looking for that magic bullet. What can I do to change, going from, $1 million business to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16. I mean, how do I do this? It takes time, but you also have to realize that you need a team behind you, whether it's internal or external, that ask the right questions to make you think. And you say, oh, that's a better option. This is a great option. And to your AI question or your AI thought process, I think that's also another way of handling it. I mean, I think people, if you don't use the right prompts, and there's a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah.
You go to LinkedIn, here's your AI chart prompt, you're prompting, and it's a giant chart.
Comment playbook.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, come on, and it's okay.
It's fine.
You have to look at it,
Yeah.
and you see things, and you go, okay, I didn't say that before. I didn't, but I think it's an intuitive language. You have to. It almost has to be as if you are talking to your best friend who knows everything that you've ever asked them. They know exactly who you are and how you function in your business and your personal life and everything. And you use AI that way, it actually can help support the next step.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it is, and we've talked to great detail. It's like a great assistant, a great thing to kind of compile. Like if I just want to word vomit or dump a bunch of transcripts and meeting notes into something and say, give me some things to start with, it'll help you eat the elephant a bite at a time. But, and I think the thing that AI does that I will acknowledge is it raises the floor for everybody. It's easy for people with no time and no budget to become average. And that's great for some people. But I think the interesting thing is like, when we're talking about everyone wants transformational growth and they want to scale and they want to be a market leader, it almost never takes, more than like 5% of the market to do that, for example. So like, I always look at like, if you could just create a wildly different identity and message, you can capture 5% of an audience by playing a totally different game. And kind of that's how we think about it a lot. Like our creative team wants to do something like Corey always says, our chief creative is like, what does a landscaping logo look like? And they'll say, a tree, mower, grass. And he say, those are the things I'll never put in a landscaping logo because it is totally forgettable and has no personality or recall. And I think that's like a summary for like how I look at the branding process is like being different is your only chance to be different.
Right. I think when you look at people, everybody has a personality. I think dragging that personality out of an individual who is not necessarily an extrovert. Sometimes it's the issue of a company where they don't want to beat their own chest, toot their horn, whatever you want to call it. And marketing's job is to say how good we are, right? And it's uncomfortable. It's just an uncomfortable feeling for those folks that they just don't want to do it. And trying to drag that out of them and get them to feel more comfortable doing things. I mean, like we're doing now. I mean, this is, I don't know how many times I've told clients we need to do more of this.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable, and what did somebody say? I was talking to a person a while back who happened to be a former model. And she says, the more uncomfortable the position, the better the look. And she's like, you got to just make yourself uncomfortable because what you think is so odd, right? That, I'll never say that, or I'll never do this, or it just doesn't, it's not me. It actually comes out sometimes as more authentic. And because that's what you have to figure out. You have to figure out who are you, what are you trying to do, and what makes the company different. Because everybody, we used to do the old yellow pages, and you're younger than I am. So I'm really aging myself, but the yellow pages trick was when you sat down with somebody for the first time talking to them about their marketing, and you'd say, okay, so what do you guys do well? We're attorneys. I'm going to beat up on attorneys here. Not that I have any attorneys as client, maybe one. But you just tell them, okay, what do you do? And they tell you the whole thing. And you go, great, open up the page to the attorneys. And you go to the attorneys and you go, can they say the same thing or do they say the same thing? And the answer is yes. And then you keep on going down the list. And if everybody can say the same thing, then you're not unique. So you have to be a little bit uncomfortable with saying why it is that you're unique and different and why you're special as a company, what you bring to the table that's different than your competitors. And sometimes that takes, going back to the brand factory, it takes that information to be able to pull that out of an individual or a group of individuals to then say, this is the real personality of the company. Kupper famously, this is going back some time, but he self-published a book, Personality Sells. He wasn't wrong. I mean, there's a lot of really great tidbits in there, right? Because it is about the personality, whether it's your personality or the company's personality, it's somebody's. And I think you have to look at that as a company. And sometimes you just need somebody else to be able to pull it out of you.
Yeah, I'm working hard to get a personality myself.
It's been a long time.
It's a street fight.
You're close.
Tom, I think like one of the things that when you're having that conversation, I think that you do really well and probably is part of your secret sauce is like,
I wish I knew what that was. So I guess you're going to tell me.
Let me authoritatively tell you why you matter.
I appreciate
so
that.
Is a lot of
better than paying for a psychologist.
A lot of the conversations we have with business owners are inherently uncomfortable because they're assessing whether they're doing things right or they're doing things wrong, and it gets personal. A lot of these are small businesses that are sometimes family owned.
Right.
I think like what you do is like, I think I talk to you for 20 minutes and then I'm telling you my deepest, darkest secrets like an old buddy is like, I think there's a special personality type and talent to make someone comfortable enough to like, I think you said open the kimono to me one time that I thought was I've been told not to say that by people here countless times. I'll say pull the curtain back a little bit.
Yeah. The pulling the curtain back is more in line with, it's okay to say, It's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. It's like, there's a guy back there pulling the levers. I know. It's, I can't say, show me, open the kimono up. That's, I know we can't say that
Do,
anymore.
do you like recognize that as a talent you have against people who may be less experienced or adept to have these like new business and onboarding conversations?
I, so now you're gonna make me,
Yeah,
talk
you
about myself and really, deep dive into who I am. I sometimes think I do. I have that ability. I mean, somebody I met the other night was, it was pretty funny. She's a coach, a personal coach, and happened to be in a group of people that were. I mean, this was really weird for me because I went to an event that I was a guest at and did it for a friend, and she was one of the speakers on a panel. And then after that was over, um, we all kind of gravitated towards this little lounge that the place had, and we started talking. And I knew a couple of other people, of course. As you get older and you're from St. Louis,
yes.
you kind of know a lot of different people. And the guy sitting across from me, was we hadn't seen each other in a long time, 40 plus years. I knew his dad more than I knew him, and he and I are only like 6 years difference. And, so we started talking about old, growing up, where we grew up, whatnot. And I was just talking, right? And the lady that I had sat next to the whole time during this conference looks over at me. She says, I know what your secret sauce is. I go, what? She goes, you're a connector. She goes, you've met so many people here tonight. You didn't even know. She said, that's something that you can do. Some people say that's just me talking too much, right? But I literally, if I look at myself internally and say, what do I really, really like? I love talking to people. I love learning. I think that's what's kept me moving in the industry. I'm also 63. My partners are probably going, hey, when is he going to retire? And at one point in my life, I probably said, 63. And I look at it now, it's time. That's why I don't wear a watch anymore, because I don't really want to know what time it is. But I really think that's the thing. I mean, when am I going to quit? I don't know, when I stop learning.
The word that comes up here a lot in terms of like non-negotiable skills to do the type of work we do is curiosity.
Totally.
Is like, what would you do if you weren't doing this? You would just be doing unpaid, obsessive research of hobbies or.
Always.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I guess we can always cut this out if we have to. But you said it to me when we first met, and literally you and I, we met through a friend who said you were the guy I should go talk to because I was looking for a different agency. Yes, get your. Those are muscles, man. Wait till you have the kid, and it'll be more muscles, especially on one side, because you're gonna be carrying the child on one side. But the thing that that you and I clicked right over the phone, and we had never met in person. I don't think we met in person when we went out to that first meeting.
Yeah.
And I don't think we did.
No, I think I talked to you 5, 6, 7 times on the phone.
Yeah, we were preparing for a meeting that we didn't know. We both wanted the business. I thought there was an opportunity for both of us. Now neither one of us have it. So there's that. So if he's listening, oh well, you know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
But we walked in there and did a presentation. Now he knows the real truth. We had, that was really the first time in person that we had ever worked together.
Yeah.
And we just, we powered off of each other. And I think that's it's hard to do. But that's what makes good teammates. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You find those people that are, that can do those kind of things. And I've made my mistakes, but I found a few good people, and you're one of them. And I appreciate the relationship here too.
Oh, likewise. And I think to your point, like that is what a lot of building the team is like you have a foundational group, like you started with your starting 4 or 5. Right. And then you have a culture and a way you think and the way you handle problems and the way you address negative outcomes. And like you build a team around that. Right. Because you have to have a culture that is the same across the board.
Right.
And we just kind of the whole thing around us becomes like a product of ourselves.
I think when we look at, and I'm going to take it back all the way to sales, and because nothing happens without a sale, right? The carpet in here, the microphones, lighting, cameras, somebody had to sell something, right? Somebody had to say yes. And I think that every one of us goes through it. Every business goes through it, right? But I think today, as we sit in, are we 2026? Got to think about that for a minute. What's changed is people's ability to actually want to listen and be, I hate the word authentic. I hated it back then when they go, everybody's got to be authentic. Right. It's like, well, what does that mean? Then everybody pretended that they were authentic and they were really not authentic. But what is that? And it's being comfortable in your own shoes. It's being able to look at somebody and say, like I've said before, look, if you're not right for us, it's okay. You can say no, because, you don't date 10 people and they all say yes, they're going to get married.
Yes.
Right. And so it has to be a good fit. It has to be something that both parties want as much as the other person, in order for anything to work. Otherwise, what you're going to end up doing is try to sell something to somebody and their expectations are so high that you'll never meet the expectations, and they'll always be looking for, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. And so going back to the sales analogy, what works in today's world, I think what worked 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, right? It's two people saying, yeah, I trust you enough that I'm going to give this a shot. And it's not like I'm going to say, I'm going to give you a period of time to see if you can succeed, because that's like also saying, I'm going to give you a period of time to see how far you can fail. It's just saying, no, we're all going to go in together. We're going to try this and let's go. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of an ignored reality of what these business relationships are, is there's no perfect thing. Right. And there never is a perfect thing. Mm-hmm. There's just a decision that has to be made by both parties that said, this feels right. Calendar months are costly. Right. Let's rip it. And I think that the best thing that we can do as kind of agency partners is help de-risk the process. And that's how I look at like your version of the brand factory, is like, we're de-risking this whole thing by being willing to wait 30, 60 days before we start like guerrilla fisting keys.
Right.
Right. Because that's just all it's going to be, is we've aligned on the way that we talk, communicate, our goals are aligned, our incentives are aligned. Let's work together and hope it goes great.
Right. I think the event that I went to that I mentioned, I alluded to a little while ago, is the friend of mine who's actually an attorney, and she was on a panel with a couple other folks who are outsourced people, and then we were talking about outsourcing and fractional, two different things. Outsourcing in her mind and in their mind, the panel's mind, was tactics, right? Mm-hmm. Just go in, doing a task. This is what I need done, right? Consultants that can execute tactics are different. They're the ones who say the first thing they need to do is they got to figure out the business. They got to figure out exactly what it is. And she made a comment that it was a question from the audience, and I think the question had to do with, what happens when you walk into a business, and, she's a former GC of a large company in town, and general counsel, and now she's an outsourced counsel. And I think the question had to do with, what if they just tell you this, I got to get this fixed. And she's like, sometimes you just got to fix things, but that's not the job. The job is not to fix it. It's the understanding the why they want to fix it, right? And so whether it's an attorney, an outsourced CFO, marketing people, everybody, we all kind of start with the same blueprint. We got to figure out exactly how the house needs to be built before we can start, doing anything with it. And so Brand Factory is one of the things that we we like to use. I would have rather called it the blueprint for success, but that's a book I think that I read. There's a book out there for that. But I do think that that's really what we have to do. And that's what, as a business owner, I'm a business owner, you're a business owner. We all run through the same thing. We all have the same issues. We need more, we need more, we need more. But sometimes the challenge is understanding what is it that you really want, meaning not necessarily, it's not the dollars, it's the right fit. And that's what we're all looking for.
Tom, like we've been sitting here for an hour. I think you and I, as we've demonstrated in the past, could talk until we both turn into skeletons or the world outside boils.
I still have one thing to add about you, but go ahead.
I like to wrap kind of with, obviously we happen to be in the same industry. I, talking to my friends outside the industry who don't really get it, have expressed like, sorry for what AI is doing to the industry. Like, I'm sorry you're going to be homeless and your life is ruined. But like, there's a lot of, that I'm really excited about for what opportunities that offers and differentiating. What are you most excited about in marketing for the next year?
It's funny you say that because I think the same. I think AI, look, it's such a hot topic right now, and it's polarizing too. That, some people are like, no, I don't want to do any of it. And other people are like, no, I got to do it all. I think there's so much out there, and use it all, by the way. I mean, test it out. And I know that my attorney friend is going to tell you, please have, systems in place and legalese so that you don't do the wrong thing. But test the Grok, test the Chat GPT, test Perplexity. There's a number. I mean, there's so many of them. They all do a little bit different thing. Sometimes I use all 3 or 4 different types, just because they all do a little bit different. They think a little bit different. It's bizarre. I can't tell you what they do. I just know that it works. And I think that, when you look at AI, I think that is the thing I'm most excited about because, what have we always said? Time that I always look down like I have my phone in my hand, but thankfully I don't. It's the dumb phone. It's not a smartphone.
Yeah.
Right. It makes us dumber.
Objectively.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, because you tell me, I can't even, the only phone number I remember is my childhood phone number. I mean, the rest of it, I couldn't tell you.
100%.
So I think that when you look at AI today, and by the way, 2 years from now, we're going to be saying something a little bit different probably about AI and what it's been able to do.
Sure.
But for right now, I think that the AI is the way that is going to make it easier for people to start their businesses because they don't need as many people to, it's making decisions by proxy versus let me just do it myself. I think people can do things faster. It becomes my assistant. I've learned how to use it better. Talking on the way to work into my phone and saying, here's my notes from the day, and go in, and just tell it to go ahead and give me my list of things to do today. That's the stuff that, you can't, I can't afford an assistant. I'm not going to spend, especially now. I mean, back in the day when everybody made, everybody was happy to make $25,000 a year. It doesn't work that way.
No.
So I think that's what I'm really mostly excited about.
I love that. Obviously, like we're aligned where I consider it a force multiplier for myself. I can just make more impact, touch more clients, do more, like, Tony Stark's super suit or whatever. A thing that you said I love is it gets people out of the starting blocks quickly. Like there's a lot of small businesses that don't need or are not paying for services like ours that just need to get out of the gates, get a simple website up, write simple stuff. Susie's Bakery, Susie's Baking.
Right.
She just needs a place for people to reach out to her to get baked.
She's making cookies, man. Let her go, let her go sell some cookies.
Yeah. So I love that because it offers small businesses an opportunity to get out of the gates at a lower cost.
Correct.
I never really thought that much about it because I'm so stuck in like.
Yeah. And I think it's also our job to help people. you know, which is what I'm going to go to. So you can cut this one out. You and I had one conversation one day about we just give and give and give, and this is not about me. It's not about you. It's just who we are. It's our makeup. My partners realize I give away way too much, and they're always like, "Man, we got to get paid for those things." I'm like, "Yeah." On the other hand, if I can help somebody, maybe down the road they'll help me, right? And I'm not looking for it. I'm truly, genuinely not looking for it. But you said the best thing I ever heard, which was, "Yeah, I've told my wife that a few times before." And you know what she says? I think you said, she calls me the Mother Teresa of marketing. I'm like, that's it. That's me.
Yeah.
We're both the Mother Teresas of marketing. We give and give and give, and nothing ever comes out of it. But you know what? We feel good. And quite frankly, there are things that come out of it.
Yeah, I mean, like, giving and receiving doesn't happen on a time schedule.
Right.
So, and there's just like so many nuggets that have been gleaned from experience that you can share with someone that are so impactful and take minutes or hours that I just feel like a piece of shit saying, F you, pay me first.
Right.
To like friends or friends of friends. So it's like,
or Susie's Bakery.
Right. It's like, yeah, you lose hundreds or thousands of dollars not billing for that stuff, but it's just like not being an asshole.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I mean, I can go back to my fortune over the time of my existence. I've had really great opportunities to talk with leaders of business who, some of them are pretty well known in St. Louis, have done extremely well in their careers, and quite frankly, have given back significant dollars to the community. But there were times when I was kind of going through, hey, what do I want to do? What do I want to do here? And somebody taught me a long time ago, just ask the question, can you help me? I just want to talk. I want to get your perspective. And I could do a whole nother segment on everybody I've ever talked to and all of the advice they gave me. And these were really well-known people in St. Louis that I had a connection with, right? To 1 degree of separation, 2 degrees of separation. And I'd say, hey, can you introduce me to this person? I don't want a job from them. What I want to do is I want to have them just listen. And I want to ask them some questions. And there's one person in St. Louis that I just won't say who, but well known. And he and I had lunch, probably breakfast, I should say that, down in the West End. Probably in my lifetime, I think he and I had about 12 different breakfasts. And he's a guy that could have bought and sold St. Louis over and over and over again. And I learned so much. And this is over a couple year period of time, but I'm like, do you have time? He's like, sure, I'm retired.
Yeah.
And and so we would just chat. And those are the things that, I learned. And some of it was really being humble and not being fake humble. And some of that stuff is, don't take no for an answer. The other one he said to me this was funny. He says, and I still live it today. He said, anything is possible. It's out there. You got to figure it out. Anything can be done. And he's since passed. And trust me, he's right. AI, anything can be done. You can't tell me that we can't create something tomorrow. You have an idea. I guarantee you it can be figured out.
Yeah, it's just, kind of to close the loop. It's like it can be done. Our job is to figure out, should it be done?
Should be done. Right.
Yeah, I think that you, a lot of the networking and connected, and I will say a person that we talked about that we mutually know here, I said to him, it's like, this Tom Gatti guy is connected as hell. And I think it's because of a thing that I've also shared with my business partner is like, a lot of people in sales behave with a motive. There's a motive behind everything that they do that is self-serving. I do not view you as someone that behaves with an ulterior motive.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't think so either. And I started to laugh because, hopefully that didn't come off as being arrogant, but we all know so many people that the first one, they can start to ask a question and you already are like 5 steps ahead trying to figure out, okay, what is the motivation What are they looking for?
I know it's like the real life example of like the LinkedIn connection you get, and then 3 minutes later he's like, "So I noticed that you do this. Would you like?"
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like Jesus.
Yeah. Well, I had that the other day. Guys links in and he asked me a question. I'm like, if I really needed that, I would have told you when we first met.
Yeah, it's like, I assure you 1,000 other people went to an AI thing and said, write me 5 LinkedIn spam messages, and I've gotten the same one 1,000 times. Like, please try harder.
Well, and if the guy that did that recently is watching this, you'll know who you are, and you're not a bad guy. It's just do it differently next time.
Yeah, and I'll say like, hey, 12 years ago, I was a dumbass too and did the very same stuff before I knew any better. So, Tom, anything else you want to get off your brain before we wrap? I think that this obviously went as smooth as I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think everything's cool. I think I'm just happy that my wife stayed with me for almost 40 years so far. My kids halfway love me.
Oh, not everybody has taste and judgment.
This is true. As a salesman, I only had to really do a good selling job on one, right? Yeah. The rest that's why I said, okay, I better stick with this one because otherwise I'm dead.
Well, when we wrap, I'm going to send you a calendar invite for 1 year from today so we can see if your prognostication was correct.
Wow. Okay.
Well, Tom Gatti, thank you once again. This was awesome.
Scott Heaton, the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend. And congrats on the baby coming up.
Thank you.
You're gonna love it.
I know, and little does he know what a muscular marketer for a father he's got.
He's gonna grow up saying, "Dad, I want to be just like you," and your answer is gonna be no.
Never get old.
Do not do this.
You don't want to see the things that I've seen.
Yeah, when my kids ask me, I can always get in business with you. I'm like, no. You don't want to do what I do. You're smarter than me. Do your thing.
I'm filling my footsteps with cement. There's no way anyone's following.
I agree.
Signing off.
Thank you.